Hi everyone, and welcome to Windrider Farm. In today's video, we'd like to show you a very large restoration project that we've started here on our homestead. 12 years ago, in this now overgrown field, we had two very productive market gardens, but we had a terrible problem with deer and other animals constantly breaking into the gardens, so we abandoned them to grow closer to our house. In the 12 years since they were abandoned, the surrounding woods has completely reclaimed this field and the gardens within. So this is going to be a large project because there's not much left after 12 years. The fencing has rusted away, the wood is rotted, leaving only pressure-treated posts to be reused. But we're determined to reclaim these gardens because our intention for this project is to reclaim the abandoned market gardens and turn them into productive test gardens to experiment with various growing practices. As we create these gardens, we'd like to take you along with us and show you how we're doing it without expensive equipment and with minimal cost. We also want to show you how we're reclaiming these gardens with the least amount of disturbance to local wildlife. To protect the food we're growing, we're going to be using some methods we've found successful and developing new ones. So in this garden, we'll be building one of our convertible greenhouses. We also have already begun work on the largest garden. Behind this massive wall of seemingly impenetrable overgrowth is where we've begun. It's hard to remember that 12 years ago this field was completely clear of bushes and trees. So the first thing we had to do was hack our way to the gardens and lay down cardboard to suppress the weeds before we could even get inside. You can see the sheer amount of cardboard that was needed, and we're still working on getting the weeds under control. So let's go inside and I'll show you what we've managed to build and plant so far. Our first task was to build animal-proof structures, so the animals that break in couldn't eat our crops. We've already had to make some alterations to the raised beds because a deer broke in and just walked across the raised beds covered in deer netting, so we added some 2x4s. We're building these animal-proof structures using as much free wood as we can find. The wood that we are purchasing is all cull wood, which is imperfect wood sold at local home improvement centers or lumber yards for a reduced price. If you've watched any of our other videos, you've seen that we try to acquire free materials or imperfect materials at a reduced cost whenever possible. Here is some video footage from when we first started working on this garden and we're still removing weeds. The first thing that we built was the enclosed raised beds that you see at the bottom of the garden. The posts to the left were what remained of a trellis system we had made for tomatoes. We decided to keep it and repurpose it for other vines. This raised bed system is based on the animal-proof design we used for our convertible greenhouses. There are two long raised beds with a pathway in between. It's completely enclosed using coated galvanized steel fencing left over from another project. When the temperatures start to fall in autumn, we'll cover the entire structure in plastic sheeting to extend our harvest. Having the plastic sheeting over it in the spring will allow us to start earlier. We have planted peppers in one side of the raised beds and tomatoes in the other. The path in the center makes it easy to weed and reach in and tie up the tomatoes. These beds have a thick layer of cardboard on the bottom for weed suppression and good quality compost on top. They receive a few hours of shade in the morning from a tree growing nearby. You can see how healthy these tomato plants are, and the few hours of shade in the morning has been more of a benefit to their growth than hindrance. They've grown so much in the 2 weeks since they were planted that we've had to start tying them up to the wire we've installed above. Behind this structure, after removing a large amount of the weeds, we planted a row of blackberries. We're trying to plant as many permanent crops as we can. These were all purchased at a local garden center at a reduced price because they were distressed. Here on the left side, in top left corner of the garden, we have planted 18 blueberry bushes and 10 red raspberry bushes. The massive wall of grapevines that you see on the left are grapevines trying to push their way in. All of these red raspberry plants were purchased at a local garden center for a reduced price because they were very distressed. With some care, they're all starting to recover. And here they are a week later. The blueberry plants were also distressed, but they too have improved by having a regular watering and fertilizing schedule. If you're trying to start a large garden area like this, look to see if the garden centers and nurseries around you have a distressed plant section. You can find some great deals, and usually all they need to recover is care and time. All the fruit that we've planted is growing around this free mulberry tree. We abandoned this field for 12 years, and a mulberry tree started to grow in the largest garden. The tree is huge and covered in mulberries. We pick the fruit we can easily reach from the ground and leave the rest for the birds, and you can hear how many birds are singing around me as I film this video. We've counted dozens of different varieties of birds visiting this tree. Another thing I would like to show you is how we are reusing this old tomato trellis we decided to keep. All along this trellis near each post, we've sunk some white tubes that a friend gifted to us. Because we're still trying to tame the remaining weeds, it would be difficult to grow cucumbers and other vining plants until we get the weeds under control. So we decided to grow them in these tubes filled with high-quality soil. So far, they're doing well, and we have the time now to tame the weeds around them while they're growing. In between the 2 runs of tomato trellis, we've planted zucchini, yellow squash, and Japanese eggplants. We put fencing at both ends so that animals can't get in. The last area of the garden I would like to show you in this video is the section we fenced in with some rolled fencing we were able to obtain at a very good price. We're still trying to get the weeds under control, so until we do, we're experimenting with growing some vegetables directly in these soil bags. We've planted many varieties of beans and some squash in these bags, and we'll show you how they're growing in future videos. We still have a lot of work left here in this garden, but we are making progress, and we're accomplishing it all using just a gas-powered string trimmer and hand tools. And more importantly, by finding deals everywhere we can. We hope you found some of our ideas useful, and we hope you'll join us again for our next video.